Hello and welcome back to Inquisitor Martyr. Last time we ran intel missions and I got bored of that, so instead of doing more, which I was planning, we're going to do a Void Crusade. We're going to do the Zircon run because I think that's the only one I haven't done. So I know we start out with this mission, slap in our usual upgrades, and let's go. So I had some actually really good news come across my feed recently. The City of Heroes fan server, City of Heroes Homecoming, actually got... what is it? They got an official license from NCSoft, which means they are now an official City of Heroes server. And while NCSoft can still use their rights to just say, nah, shut the server down, for now, they're able to actually not live in perpetual fear of lawyers just spontaneously coming down and pummeling them senseless. Which is really cool because while they do have to pay like a licensing thing, because of course NCSoft is not going to be like, hey, yeah, so you're sustaining our game even though we abandoned it. Cool. They're still like, yeah, even though this game is free, give us money. Which I feel like at a certain point the guys behind City of Heroes need to just kind of go, nah, we're just gonna make our own game. We have enough understanding of how this works. Granted, I also thoroughly understand MMOs on average take about 6 years development time and need, I think, like the smallest end of studios are a couple hundred people, like 200. But it does kind of suck because whatever they make looks to still be under NCSoft's rights, so it's like if they make new content, it belongs to NCSoft. And I'm like, if they at least provided funding, I'd be a little more understanding. Granted, I also don't understand why NCSoft just doesn't go, hey, you guys are sustaining this, cool, we're just gonna pay you to do this from here on in. You can add content, do whatever, but consider yourselves hired. Because then, you know, you can charge money for copies of the game, or you can introduce microtransactions and actually do decent support stuff for it. Because that's what I'd do. The game has potential to make money, and it is a South Korean company, so them making very stupid decisions or shady decisions is kinda part and parcel here. I've said it before, I'll say it a million times. I don't understand how South Korea is one of the most cutthroat capitalist countries in the world, yet it is apparently full of people who just make the most brain-dead business decisions. Those two realities seem antithetical to each other, but here we are. But I am glad for the City of Heroes guys. It's really cool that at least NCSoft acknowledges them. I've seen people ask the question of, what does this mean for other dead MMOs or other MMOs in general? I think the problem is this isn't going to cause some big resurgence of old MMOs, because by and large, you need the source code. The City of Heroes guys managed to get it in like 2019, and that was 7 years after the game initially shut down. Now, I'd like to see something like Star Wars Galaxies, get acknowledged and allowed to live in their ecosystem, because outside of the combat update, which ruined everything, Star Wars Galaxies was cool. If you never played it, you could create your own town, and you actually had to rank up in certain like town managerial skills to allow certain buildings to be built, and you'd have an affiliation, whether it was Rebel or Imperial, and then you'd have Imperial players could raid your town and all this stuff. It was really cool. That's the kind of stuff I wish we would have saw in like Fallout 76. Let players create towns at the workshops, let them pick an alignment, whether you're anything, you could be a raider even, just a faction, have some rewards tied to it or certain things, and let people just roleplay. I feel like that's a very large thing that's missing in MMORPGs now, mostly because they don't even do, when you see a lot of games, they don't say RPG anymore, it's an MMO. And I feel like that's kind of indicative of the times where I think people would roleplay, maybe not in a full, like, you have to talk in character RP kind of deal, but in a, I'm going to pick a faction, I'm going to rep these guys, do this kind of thing, because that's what WoW is. And people still play WoW. People play EVE. It's not that weird, it's just companies have to kind of take the leap and let people do that. But I also don't think we're going to see a big resurgence in MMOs, because as I describe a lot of games like Destiny and stuff nowadays, they're MMO light. They're the Diet Pepsi of MMOs. They have the flavor, they have the ideas, but they don't go all the way. And so you get kind of this discounted version that feels really light in certain aspects or overcompensating in others. Especially Destiny, dear God. They've been trying to make things right, but I don't see it panning out very well. And we'll quick dump what we have, even though it's next to nothing. Hey, destruction. Those might be good for harder missions, because I think the route I'm following says we get like 2 level 10 or 1 plus 12 difficulty mission and 2 plus 10 difficulties, so that might be worth just kind of popping a couple of those for the extra damage to get out of them a little easier. We can handle the heat resist. I do wish with City of Heroes kind of getting this bump that we would see the revival of MMOs, but at this point the only one I want to see get kind of picked up and revived is Secret World. I need a Secret World sequel. That game was too good to now sit in the vaults of Funcom on perpetual life support. I will always tell people, if you play it, first off, Secret World Legends kind of sucks. You can still play the normal version, but because I think servers are still up, but there's like nobody playing it. Everybody more or less migrated, and Secret World Legends suffers the same fate as like Hellgate London, where the original rights holders lost the rights, new people took it over, and then they just did the most abhorrent job with it, and they're just like, yeah, we're done, we don't care anymore. Hellgate obviously was once again Korean company, made a really scuffed like mobile version that did terribly because it was a terrible mobile version, and then had the gall gumption and butt fucking audacity to then turn around and go, yeah, we're just gonna upload our really bad mobile version to Steam. And then, of course, Funcom with Secret World just went, yeah, we updated it a little bit, stripped out a bunch of stuff, because why not? And yeah, we're not gonna touch it again. We're too busy with Conan. Which, I like Conan, but dear God. All they do nowadays is just like, it's Conan again. I'm tired of Conan. Like, Conan Exiles, the magic would have been cool if they had done it, you know, years ago, when the game came out, instead of dragging their feet forever, and then finally being like, oh, we should probably add magic, because magic's actually kind of a big part of the Conan universe. And then they just kind of did it with, I think that came out alongside like Isle of Sipta. Because apparently someone at Funcom must have saw the sheer volume of maps that Ark Survival Evolved had, and they're like, yeah, we can do that, right? I think that, I want to say that game is like a tera or something if you have all the maps. It's some stupid file size that I remember when I saw it, I was like, are you kidding me? Which, man, I can't even get into Ark. I've looked at it and I'm just like, eh. I feel like survival games like that have very much overstayed their welcome, which is why I laugh that there's gonna be Ark 2. I wonder how much crap they're just gonna repackage and resell to people. They'll just be, hey, it's these guys again, but with HD textures. Reminds me of like Daisy. I don't even remember if a friend bought that for me or I bought it myself, but I don't even have like 10 hours in the game. That was one that bugged me. Mostly because, like, I've said it before, I hate when game developers and project leads pull the we don't use fun around here kind of deal. Because every time it's just like, oh, so you're pretentious. Like, games are a medium, yes, but they're also games. Nobody likes playing games that suck. It'd be like if I said, hey, we're gonna play tag, but if I tag you, I get to punch you in the throat. You're gonna be like, I don't want to play this anymore, this sucks. This isn't fun, and then I just turn around and go, we don't use fun here. It's like, screw you, it's a game. Make it fun. And I've seen people discuss that with, like, Daisy. At what point is realism... Are you going too far with realism? Which I do think there is a very discernible limit. Like Daisy, where they had forced movement, where it was like, you can't just like inch forward a little bit like you can in real life. You take a full step. So the minimum space you can move is actually quite large, and I walked off ledges and died before trying to navigate a, like, beached, like, ship, and it was horrible. I hated it, because I managed to find a shotgun, I was not starving to death, I was not in a good spot, but I was like, hey, this could be worse. And then the game's just like, oh, we're gonna make it worse, don't worry. And then I fell and died, and I was like, yeah, nah. And then, of course, the devs have the balls to be like, hey, you want to buy Livonia? We got a new map. You can spend like $10, $15 on a map. I'm like, no, I'm not buying another map. Your base game sucks. But I find it funny how, like, the 2012-ish era, DayZ came out, which was just a mod. We had the Hunger Games stuff, and PlayerUnknown making his Battle Royale in DayZ. And then just turning around being like, oh, getting hired to make more Battle Royales. I'm still kind of amazed that, that PUBG is as popular as it is. But I think I hate Battle Royales. I think they're lazy, is the best way to describe it. They're lazy content. Because there's games that are open world that, like a Fallout 76, where, yes, players make a good degree of the content, or should be able to, even though the game doesn't really facilitate it. But those work. And then you have other games, like Battle Royales, where they try to do that, hey, you make the content, but it's more just fight each other, large single life deathmatch, have fun. It's like, okay, I guess. If I'm gonna do a large scale shooter, I want something like PlanetSide. Granted, PlanetSide also kinda screwed up with their balancing. I miss Liberators being, like, terrifying. I remember playing it when it came out and the Libbies had the Dalton, which was like can't remember, it was supposed to be like an AC-130's 150mm cannon. And it was fun flying around because you just chunk it at an area and you just get kills. And it sucks because people complained, wah, I dying, I don't want to pull a launcher to counter it, wah. And then the devs were like, oh, okay, you people who don't want to do any counterplay or understand counterplay, we'll pander to you. They nerfed it to the point where to get a kill, you had to, like, direct impact a guy. Which, good luck aiming at a running dude while you're flying around on the belly gunner of a guy trying to avoid incoming fire. They made it just terrible. And it went from Libby's being terrifying to you see one, you're just like, oh, okay, so that's here. Now I'm sitting here thinking more about PlanetSide, and oh man, I wish they'd get a sequel. That game needs a sequel. It's kind of the unfortunate thing is, like, the engine itself needs to have a full overhaul. The game's code needs a big overhaul. God knows the balancing needs an overhaul. And that's where a good sequel would come into play. Or I'd like to see someone like Ubisoft make a similar style game. which I was talking to my brother about this recently. Has anyone heard anything about Division Heartland? I thought that was supposed to come out, and that's still up in the air. I'm waiting for it to turn out to be either they say screw it and roll it into Division 3, because they said the third game will come out, or they'll start working on it once Heartland is done. So I figure they're either going to do that, or this is going to be another Skull and Bones situation where the game is in development hell for eternity. I still can't believe Skull and Bones is coming out. I love that my cooldowns are strong enough on this that I can actually have... If I full auto it, I can fill up my heat meter, but if I semi-auto it, then the gun will always cool down more than it heats up. Man, I hope that that Warhammer MMO ends up good. I just remembered, I was just gonna say, I wish we had like different patterns of plasma guns and las guns and stuff, and then I remembered that MMO, and I was like, oh yeah, man, I hope they do something like that. Now that I think about it, with the Warhammer MMO coming out, maybe we will see kind of a MMO resurgence. Because I think the biggest thing holding them back is nobody has come out with a definitive monetization method. I mean, there's some good ones, Warframe for example. Granted, the slot system is terrible, but it's whatever considering there's a lot of ways to make up for it, and they do give you like free platinum every so often, at least on consoles. But so there's ways to kind of get around that and trading and what have you. But no big MMO has been willing to grab that, but I also think it's because ones like WoW and in that vein, stuff like the Old Republic, they don't do loot in the same way, and they're not more like action RPGs. They're just kind of roll your fingers across your keyboard, wait for cooldowns, and then do it again kind of MMOs. Which I think is kind of the killer in a lot of cases. Granted, we are seeing some that are supposed to be coming out of Korea, but I don't know. Not too big on a lot of them. Actually, as of late, I was looking at stuff for Kingdom Under Fire. I'd been wrong this whole time. That's always been Korean owned. which kind of shocked me because I was like, oh, well, why? Why have you just fumbled this? Because I feel like you lead a force of soldiers in a fantasy battle. I feel like that kind of style, blend some Souls combat in, you could do some fun stuff. Might take a little bit of work getting it to work right, but I think there's potential. And then you don't actually need to have huge player numbers in an area. You can spread stuff out pretty far so that people kind of encounter things sporadically and you don't have to worry about suddenly having to maintain, 200 players in a spot with their whole entourage of soldiers, which would probably kill some of these games. But you could do something. You could definitely do something. I am not as much a technical man as I am a designer kind of man, so I don't know what exact technical limits would be in play. I definitely do wonder what they're going to do for that Warhammer MMO though, because if it's anything like the last one, it's going to be kind of weird. I understood the idea behind Dark Imperium, kind of pushing the whole, hey, you can battle for planets and stuff, which is cool, I like that. It's just, it's kind of, I don't like the WoW style of game. For me, it's just, there's no interaction. You're just kind of standing around waiting. Because if someone shoots at you, even if you move, the game has already logged your attack. And it's gonna hit you. Unless you have like a dodge chance, and then your actual mobility doesn't play into it. And that's disappointing, because I'd rather have a little more say in how things go than just be like, yep, the connection giveth and the connection taketh away. We'll pop that meme virus because we'll need it eventually. But we got a skill point to put right here. 1% of max health healed on critical hit. Four stat. Poison boost. And that's all, okay. And a one-handed power axe. Which isn't terrible. But it's also not great. Oh well. But that is all for now. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit the like button. It helps out the channel a lot. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.